Hey, it's Kelly from MX Hideout. Some of you wanted me to make some videos on building or making single track trails for dirt biking. So this first episode is planning the trail. So my first question is, how much space or how much property do you legally have access to? If you have dozens of acres or 100 plus, that's plenty of room to have pretty wide open trails, so you don't need to worry about bunching them really close together. But for me, we only have 5, maybe 10 acres max, so getting 2 miles of trails in that is a little bit challenging. So I try and plan out ahead, trying to make the most of each square foot. So what does that look like? Well, I'm trying to get as close to the edge of the property as possible, and I'm trying to make like U-turns, 180s, trying to use every square foot possible. So if I'm going down a lane, I'm gonna try and come back the same way, like 5 or 10 feet over, if there's room to do that. The next thing is being aware of the ground itself. So here in Minnesota, at least where we live, over here it's swampy. We got a couple swamps, so you need to be aware of whether the ground is wet or dry and for how long. Because in the spring, if it's really wet, some areas are not going to dry out till like June or maybe even July, so you're only going to get like 3 months of riding that. So those sections I try and avoid if I know that they're going to be wet every single spring and they won't dry out for like an extra month or two compared to the rest of the trail. The next thing I like to do is walk the path. So when I'm trying to squeeze in as much trail as possible, I like to walk it and just be aware of any big trees in the way or big down trees. I'm trying to cut as little as possible. I mean, I have a chainsaw, but I didn't start out using a chainsaw. I had a handsaw, so every tree I had to cut took a long time. So I'm trying to avoid them as much as possible. And then if a tree goes down later on, well, then I might have to cut it or just reroute it. So that's why I like walking the trail. And one mistake that I did make early on was my corners. They were either too tight or not very smooth of an arc. So make sure that when you're planning on making a turn, whether it's a 90 or 180 or somewhere in between, make sure that it is wide enough, but also that it has a nice smooth arc and not like a hook. So it's like Okay, that was not a very good description of it. But if you walk it and then you cut it, make sure you test ride it to make sure that it flows well, because sometimes you might find that, oh, I turned in too sharp into this tree and your handlebar's gonna hit it if you lean the bike over at all. That's it for episode 1. I have a ton of other ideas and questions that I can answer, and if you have a specific one, let me know in the comments below. And if you're a trail rider that wants to learn the basic techniques to riding with confidence, check out this video right here. I'm Kelly Fager from MX Hideout. Ride safe, have fun.